My ghostwriter presents Shadows on the Foothills, produced by Timothy Robertson. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Serenity. The morning sun, a silent witness to the cyclic dance of time, punctured the cool dawn of Maine's foothills with a hesitant light, casting long shadows on the whispering grass. Here, in this serene enclave, kissed by the breath of seasons, a deceptive tranquility reigned, one that veiled the silent storms raging within the heart of Ayrika's home. This picturesque town, nestled in nature's embrace, carried within its veils an unsettling dichotomy, balancing on the fragile edge between visible peace and hidden turmoil. Ayrika stood by the kitchen window, her gaze lost in the sprawling expanse of their backyard, where dew-kissed flowers dared to bloom amidst the chill of unresolved silence. Each petal seemed to mirror bits of her fragmented self, struggling to find light in the shadow of the imposing figure that was her husband. The warmth from her mug of coffee did little to thaw the ice in her veins, an embodiment of the rigidity that had taken root within her soul. Like a perennial frost, his reign of terror had crystallized, fraying the edges of her once vibrant spirit. Science, in its empirical wisdom, argues that darkness is merely the absence of light, a simple axiom that Ayrika found bitterly ironic. In her world, darkness was not an absence but a presence, a tangible force that pressed upon her with the weight of a black hole, absorbing every sliver of joy and warmth. It was a darkness that defied the laws of physics, where the light of her resolve and the warmth of her maternal love struggled to escape its gravitational pull. The house, a charming relic of simpler times, radiated a warmth that contradicted the coldness festering within its walls. Its very structure, designed to be a haven, instead became a meticulously constructed facade, behind which the complexities of human nature unfolded with devastating precision. Ayrika, a study in resilience, found herself entrapped within this paradoxical space, her days a constant battle against the inevitable entropy that threatened the very essence of her being. The sound of footsteps, light and tentative, broke her from her trance. Catelynn, her teenage daughter, entered the room, her presence a balm to Ayrika's churning thoughts. In her eyes, a reflection of her mother's torment, mingled with the fierce spark of resistance that defined her. They shared a wordless communion, a testament to the unspoken understanding that tethered their fractured lives. It was in Catelynn's defiant spirit that Ayrika found a flicker of hope, a reminder of the possibility of light persisting in the face of overwhelming darkness. Their morning ritual was a dance of careful normalcy, gestures and routines performed with the precision of actors on a stage. Each movement a defiance against the script fate had handed them. Yet, beneath the surface of their rehearsed calm, a storm brewed, gathering momentum with each passing day. As the clock heralded the start of another day, Ayrika faced the world with a facade of composed normalcy, her mind a battlefield where hope fought despair in an endless war. The scientific marvel of her being, cells, organs, and emotions intricately woven into the fabric of life, stood as both a testament to her strength and a reminder of her vulnerability. But today was not like other days. Today, the fine balance they had maintained was poised to shift, for within the folds of the mundane, a catalyst lay in wait. A truth that would shatter the illusion of serenity, propelling Ayrika and Catelynn into the heart of the storm. As Ayrika glanced at the reflection that stared back at her, a resolve hardened within her. She knew the time had come, to stand against the tide, to break the cycle of silence, and to confront the darkness with the only weapon left in her arsenal, the truth. This day would mark the beginning of their reckoning, a journey fraught with challenges and revelations, where the laws of science and the depths of human emotion would intertwine, setting the stage for a battle between light and shadows. Chapter 2. Whispers in the Shadows. The early morning rays barely pierced the thick canopy of the Maine foothills, casting an ethereal glow on the already vibrant landscape. Nature, in its relentless pursuit of balance, seemed to mock the disequilibrium of Catelynn's life. She watched the sun's futile attempts to illuminate the hidden recesses of the woods, a metaphor, she mused, for her own efforts to shed light on the darkness that enshrouded her family. The juxtaposition between the outer peace of their environment and the inner chaos of their lives was a stark reminder of the duality of existence. one that physics postulated, but human experience painfully confirmed. Catelynn navigated her teenage years with an astuteness that belied her age, a self-awareness honed by the years of observing the covert war waged within the confines of her home. Her life was a masterclass in chaos theory, each moment a potential butterfly effect, where the slightest action could trigger a tempest, unraveling the carefully maintained facade of normalcy. Her academic pursuits offered a brief respite, a world where equations and reactions obeyed predictable laws, a stark contrast to the unpredictability of her domestic life. The high school, a linchpin of the community, stood as a beacon of collective memory and future hope. Here, Catelynn found solace in her studies, particularly in physics, where the world's chaos was distilled into comprehensible laws. It was in these scientific concepts that she sought parallels to her life, searching for a formula that could explain the disarray, a universal law that could restore equilibrium. Her physics teacher, Mrs. Henley, a woman whose intellect was matched only by her empathy, had become an unwitting confidant. Under the guise of academic curiosity, Catelynn delved into concepts that mirrored her inner turmoil. Entropy, conservation of energy, the unforgiving progression of time, all veiled attempts to make sense of her domestic plight. As the fall semester progressed, a project on wave-particle duality offered an unexpected analogy to Catelynn's life. The duality of light, existing both as a wave and a particle, became a poignant reflection of her own dual existence, visible yet obscured, understood yet profoundly mysterious. She wondered, if light could transcend its apparent duality to manifest in two fundamentally exclusive natures, could she too navigate her fractured world to forge a unified identity? The school also became the stage for a cast of characters who, intentionally or not, played roles in her unfolding drama. Zeppelin, her younger brother, was the epitome of innocence, his unburdened joy a constant source of both heartache and motivation for her. His presence at school was a gentle reminder of the stakes at play, igniting in her a fierce determination to shield him from the storm that loomed on their horizon. Then there was Jules Marrow, the enigmatic teacher whose path rarely crossed hers, yet whose reputation as a redeemed soul sparked an intrigue she couldn't ignore. Rumours swirled around his troubled past and subsequent transformation, painting him as a living testament to the possibility of change, a concept that Catelynn clung to with desperate hope. As the days inched closer to winter, the internal pressure within Catelynn mounted, each moment imbued with a sense of impending revelation. The scientific principles she clung to, ones that promised predictability and order, seemed increasingly inept at containing the chaos of her lived experience. The crucial turning point came unexpectedly, on a day shrouded in fog, both literal and metaphorical. As Catelynn navigated the obscured halls, her mind preoccupied with the parallels between light's dual nature and her life's duplicity, she stumbled upon a whispered conversation, a moment of serendipity that pierced her bubble of isolation. It was Mrs. Henley, speaking in hushed tones to another teacher, the subject of their conversation none other than her own mother, Ayrika. The snippets caught were fragments of a larger, more ominous narrative, hints of a disclosure that threatened to unravel the delicate web of lies and silence that had cocooned her family for years. In that instant, Catelynn's understanding of her universe shifted. Entropy, the natural tendency of systems to veer into disorder, suddenly seemed a fitting descriptor for her life's trajectory. But within this chaos, there shimmered a sliver of hope, the unyielding principle that in every system, no matter how disordered, lay the potential for transformative energy. The revelation, born from overheard whispers, set in motion a chain of events that would propel Catelynn and Ayrika from the shadows into the glaring light of confrontation. The quest for equilibrium, both within their family and within Catelynn herself, had reached its nexus. It was time to harness the chaotic forces that had defined their lives, to shift the paradigm and emerge, not unscathed but unbowed, into a new dawn. Thus, the stage was set for a journey transcending the mere struggle for survival. It was a quest for understanding, for reconciling the dualities of their existence, and forging from the crucible of their trials a unified path forward. Chapter 3: The Breaking Dawn. As the pallid light of dawn crept through the curtains, casting elongated shadows across the room, Ayrika found herself suspended in the May quietude that precedes the storm. The revelation that had inadvertently reached Catelynn's ears now pulsed at the core of their existence, an immutable force accelerating their inevitable collision with truth. The home that had once served as their sanctuary seemed to contract around them, each room echoing with the silent screams of ghosts past. The physics of Ayrika's world, once governed by predictable laws of cause and effect, had skewed into the realm of quantum uncertainty. The position and momentum of her life, according to Heisenberg's principle, could not both be precisely determined. Clarity on one front spelled uncertainty on the other. As she braced herself for the day, Ayrika reflected on this paradox, finding in it a grim metaphor for her predicament. Seeking justice for the wrongs inflicted by her husband meant unsettling the precarious equilibrium they had maintained, thrusting them into unknown terrain. As Ayrika and Catelynn navigated their morning routine, an air of unspoken understanding wove itself between them, a tightrope of shared anxieties and unarticulated fears. The looming confrontation with Ayrika's husband, the epicenter of their shared trauma, was an event horizon, drawing them inexorably toward a confrontation with the gravity of their situation. The first obstacle materialized in the form of societal disbelief. Whispered conversations halted as they passed. Averted gazes failed to mask the undertone of skepticism that permeated their interactions. The community, once a fabric of support, had morphed into an array of judgmental onlookers, their doubts a reflection of society's broader reluctance to confront the uncomfortable realities of domestic abuse. Ayrika, in her quest to reclaim their lives, sought solace in the immutable laws of nature, drawing parallels between their struggle and the principles that govern the universe. Just as light can bend around massive objects, revealing the hidden mass of dark matter, so too did Ayrika aspire to expose the hidden malevolence within her husband, hoping to illuminate his true nature to a disbelieving world. Her resolve was a beacon for Catelynn, who watched with a mixture of dread and admiration as her mother prepared to challenge the gravitational force of societal apathy. This preparation, however, was marred by their internal tumult, the oscillation between courage and fear, action and inaction. The dynamic nature of their emotional states reflected the dualities within quantum mechanics, where particles exist in multiple states until observed. Despite the cacophony of doubt that surrounded them, a pivotal moment of clarity emerged during a visit to the local police station, a place that stood at the interface between their isolated world and the society that judged them. Here, Ayrika found herself recounting the years of abuse to a stoic officer, her voice steady but her hands trembling, manifesting the visible spectrum of her fear. Just as her narrative approached its zenith, the unexpected happened, a sudden shift in the fabric of their reality. Ayrika's husband, alerted by whispers of his wife's intentions, launched a preemptive strike. Utilizing his charm and the veneer of respectability that had shielded him for years, he painted Ayrika as the unstable party, filing for a restraining order under the guise of protecting himself and his children from her supposed erratic behavior. The news of this tactical maneuver reached Ayrika and Catelynn as they returned home, greeted not by the sanctity of their haven, but by the cold demeanor of law enforcement, tasked with enforcing the order. The betrayal, so stark in its audacity, was a quantum leap from the expected path of their journey, plunging them into a deeper abyss of uncertainty. As they stood at the threshold of their home, now barred to them by the very laws meant to protect, Ayrika and Catelynn faced the ultimate paradox. The principles of physics that offered comfort in their predictability offered no solace in the chaotic weave of human jurisprudence. The conservation of energy, the immutable law that states energy cannot be created or destroyed, seemed a mockery as they felt their collective strength being siphoned by the black hole of their predicament. The chapter closes as Ayrika, with Catelynn beside her, a unity of resolve hardening in their eyes, confronts the reality of their displacement. Forced from their home, they stand at the precipice of the unknown. In the face of overwhelming forces, they must now navigate a path back to equilibrium through a society that seems governed more by chaos than by law, and an adversary whose tactics have set the stage for an unforeseen battle. As darkness threatens to envelop them once more, a light flickers on the horizon. A potential ally emerges, promising a glimmer of hope in their fight for justice. Chapter 4. Echoes of Truth. The world seemed to hold its breath as Ayrika and Catelynn, cast away from the threshold of what was once their sanctuary, found solace in the dimly lit corridors of a nondescript motel, a stark contrast to their life ensconced in Maine's picturesque foothills. The walls, sparsely adorned with faded landscapes, whispered of transient souls seeking refuge from their own storms. Here, amid the quiet despair of their makeshift haven, the daunting task of rebuilding from the ashes of their shattered reality loomed large. The community's initial disbelief and skepticism had morphed into a suffocating blanket of silence, as if the revelation of the husband's crimes dredged up the uncomfortable acknowledgement of their collective oversight. Murmured conversations, once filled with doubts, now carried a different timbre, a mix of guilt and curiosity. Ayrika, however, remained isolated from these shifts, her focus laser-sharp on the singular goal that had become their North Star: to bring her husband to justice and reclaim their lives from the jaws of his deceit. In the seclusion of their temporary abode, Catelynn became Ayrika's anchor, her unwavering support an embodiment of the quantum entanglement that defied physical separation. Together, they pored over legal documents and strategized with their appointed attorney, a young woman named Elise Garner, whose passion for justice burned as brightly as their own. Garner, with her keen intellect and empathy, quickly became more than just their legal counsel. She was a confidant, a beacon of hope in the legal labyrinth they navigated. The days blurred into weeks as they prepared for the impending legal battle, each day a step closer to the courtroom, a coliseum where the truths of their ordeal would be laid bare. Meanwhile, the husband, emboldened by his temporary victory, launched a campaign to sway public opinion. His narrative, a twisted tapestry of lies and manipulation, sought to paint Ayrika as the architect of their family's downfall, a portrayal that galled those who knew the truth. Amid this turmoil, an unexpected ally emerged in the form of Jules Marrow. Having heard whispers of Catelynn's plight, he sought her out, driven by an inexplicable pull towards the girl whose resilience mirrored his own struggles. Their meeting, clandestine and charged with the unsaid, became the genesis of an unlikely fellowship. Jules, with his checkered past and understanding of redemption's intricate dance, offered not just support, but a bridge to a community that had once turned its back. As Catelynn navigated this new alliance, balancing the vulnerability of their situation with the innate need for trust, Ayrika found herself confronting another front: her own psyche. The relentless pressure, compounded by the isolation from their community and the spectre of the upcoming trial, began to fracture the stoic facade she had meticulously maintained. In the dark hours of solitude, haunted by memories of her husband's treachery, Ayrika battled the spectres of doubt and despair, a struggle mirrored in the elemental forces of nature, a tempest within seeking release. The world-building of their once idyllic town now included shadowed corners, where conversations hushed at their approach, where glances were laden with unspoken questions, and where support came from unexpected quarters. It was within this transformed landscape that the echoes of their past miseries found resonance, challenging them to stand steadfast against the tide of public opinion swayed by her husband's machinations. The pivotal moment arrived with the discovery of a hidden trove of evidence by Elise Garner. Tucked away in the encrypted corners of the husband's digital life were damning pieces of correspondence and images, the existence of which he had arrogantly underestimated. This evidence, a veritable Pandora's box, promised to shift the balance of power in their favor, illuminating the depths of his depravity to the world. As Ayrika, Catelynn, and Elise huddled around the glow of a laptop, the gravity of their find settled upon them like a mantle. Here at last was the weapon they needed to cut through the web of lies, to expose the monster masquerading in sheep's clothing. Yet, with this revelation came the heavy burden of its implications. To bring these secrets into the light was to invite the world into their darkest moments, to relive the trauma under the scrutiny of public gaze. The chapter closes on the precipice of decision, a moment suspended in time, where the path forward is fraught with peril, yet illuminated by the promise of vindication. Ayrika, with the resolve of a warrior and the vulnerability of a wounded heart, stands at the threshold of this daunting journey. Beside her, Catelynn, a testament to the resilience of youth and the strength of family bonds, and Elise, their indefatigable advocate, ready to embark on the next phase of their battle. Together, they face the dawning realization that the fight for justice is not just a path to personal redemption, but a challenge to the very foundations of their community's understanding of truth, morality, and the indomitable spirit of the human will. Chapter 5. Amidst the Halls of Justice. The courtroom loomed large as a crucible, where the fragile truths of Ayrika and Catelynn's ordeal would be tested against the cold, hard scales of justice. To Ayrika, it represented a paradox similar to Schrödinger's thought experiment. Until the verdict was pronounced, they existed in a state of both vindication and condemnation. It was here, in this sterile environment of wood and echoes, that the next phase of their battle would unfold, under the scrutinizing gaze of those who held the power to redefine their futures. Elise Garner, with a steely resolve mirroring that of her clients, guided Ayrika and Catelynn through the labyrinthine processes that preceded the trial. Each motion filed, each witness subpoenaed, felt like a small victory in their quest to illuminate the darkness that had enveloped their lives. Yet the closer they came to the trial, the more the weight of public scrutiny intensified, pressing upon them with the oppressive force of an approaching storm. The town, once a quiet backdrop to their lives of silent suffering, had transformed into an arena of divided loyalties and whispered speculations. Ayrika's husband, leveraging his charm and the remnants of his credibility, continued to weave his narrative, casting shadows of doubt on Ayrika's motives. His efforts, bolstered by a defense attorney renowned for his ruthlessness, painted a picture of a family torn apart by the unfounded accusations of a vindictive wife. As the trial commenced, the metaphor of wave-particle duality Ayrika found solace in became ever more poignant. Like light, their truth existed in dual states, both particle and wave, both tangible evidence and ephemeral perception, waiting for the act of observation by the jury to collapse it into a single reality. The proceedings unfolded with the mechanical rhythm of legal ritual, a dance of objections and evidence that left Ayrika feeling both participant and observer in her own life's score, most critical juncture. Jules Marrow, drawn into the vortex of their struggle, found himself grappling with the spectres of his past as he witnessed Ayrika's relentless pursuit of justice. In her, he saw echoes of his own search for redemption, a mirror reflecting a path pockmarked with regret and the possibility of salvation. His own story, once shrouded in the murk of past transgressions, began to seep into the fabric of the trial, as rumors of his involvement with the family swirled, adding layers of complexity to the public's perception. Catelynn, bearing the dual burdens of witness and daughter, faced her own crucible as she took the stand. Her testimony, a raw exposition of their lived nightmare, sent ripples through the courtroom, challenging the jury to confront the unsettling reality of her father's dualities. The gravity of her words, weighted with the emotional charge of her experiences, sought to tip the scales in their favor, a quantum leap towards vindication. Yet, as the trial progressed, a new conflict emerged, deepening the thematic exploration of light's dual nature. The defense introduced a shocking revelation, a figure from Ayrika's past, an old friend whose alliance with her husband threatened to undermine the credibility of their case. This unexpected twist, a ghost from Ayrika's history, wielded potential testimonies that cast long shadows over her assertions of innocence and victimhood. The revelation left Ayrika and Catelynn reeling, trapped in an entanglement of past and present, where every decision they made branched into a myriad of potential outcomes, each fraught with its quantum of risk and uncertainty. The courtroom, a stark realm of black and white, offered no refuge for the complexities of human emotion and the nuances of their ordeal. As the chapter closes, Ayrika and Catelynn face the dissonance between the scientific clarity they sought in their understanding of the willing universe and the murky ambiguities of human justice. The intertwined paths of their fight for vindication, Jules's quest for redemption, and the community's struggle with its conscience converge in a nexus of conflict and revelation, leaving them on the precipice of a resolution that promises to redefine not just their futures, but the very fabric of their reality. The spectre of Ayrika's past, brought to the forefront by the defense, serves as both a foil and a catalyst for the coming chapters, challenging the characters to navigate the intricate dance of truth and perception, of quantum states and emotional certainties as they edge closer to the moment of collapse, where their myriad possibilities converge into a single, defining reality. Chapter 6: Shadows of History. As the trial's aftermath leaves the town of Maine's foothills in a complicated mix of reflection and anticipation, attention subtly shifts towards Jules Marrow, whose presence until now had been a steady, if somewhat peripheral, influence in Catelynn's life. Amidst the communal rumblings and the slow disintegration of normalcy for Ayrika and Catelynn, Jules finds himself at a crossroads, compelled by an unseen force to engage more intimately with the family's plight. His history, marred by personal failures and a desperate bid for redemption, becomes a compelling backdrop to his motivations, drawing stark parallels to the themes of resilience and transformation that pulse at the story's heart. During a quiet evening reminiscent of the calm before a storm, Jules, seated in his modest, book-filled living room, reflects on the journey that had led him to this point. Surrounded by the silent testimonies of his past ambitions and dreams, represented by trophies and pictures tarnished by time, he contemplates the indelible mark his addiction left on those he loved most, particularly his younger sister, whose own descent into darkness mirrored the chaos he once invited into his life. The narrative takes an introspective dive into Jules's past, unveiling the tragedy that acted as the catalyst for his venture into the realms of addiction, a devastating injury that curtailed his budding athletic career. This period, marked by loss and despair, is meticulously explored, illustrating the slow succumbing to substances as a means of escaping reality, and the subsequent realization of the damage inflicted on his already fractured family. As Jules ruminates on his journey from the depths of despair to the shaky ground of recovery, he acknowledges the duality of his existence, a theme that resonates deeply with Ayrika and Catelynn's concealed lives. It's in this acknowledgement that the narrative finds a rich vein of thematic exploration, drawing parallels between the physical laws governing the universe and the chaotic unpredictability of human emotions and actions. The next day at school, a seemingly innocuous interaction with Catelynn serves as the catalyst for what becomes a pivotal twist in the narrative. During a session that had initially focused on helping Catelynn navigate a complex physics problem, the conversation inadvertently steers towards the personal, revealing a depth of understanding and empathy in Jules that catches Catelynn off guard. This moment, charged with vulnerability, lays the groundwork for Jules's acknowledgement of his own past and the mistakes that continue to haunt him. However, the narrative's tension escalates when Catelynn, emboldened by Jules's candidness, confides in him about a new development related to their case. It appears the defense has unearthed a piece of evidence that could potentially unravel the fabric of their carefully constructed arguments, throwing their pursuit of justice into jeopardy. This revelation, delivered in the closing lines of the chapter, introduces a shocking twist. The evidence links back to a figure from Ayrika's past, previously believed to be irrelevant to their ordeal. Jules's reaction to this news is a complex tapestry of emotions, reflecting his own fears about the inescapable shadows of one's history. As the chapter closes, Jules finds himself facing a daunting realization. His desire to aid Ayrika and Catelynn might inadvertently bring them closer to a confrontation with ghosts he's all too familiar with. The chapter ends on a note of unresolved tension, with the implications of this discovery looming large, propelling the narrative towards an uncertain future. Chapter conclusion. Chapter 6 serves not only to advance key plot developments and deepen character arcs, but also introduces new challenges that threaten the fragile equilibrium Ayrika and Catelynn have fought to maintain. The intertwining of Jules's backstory with the main conflict enriches the thematic exploration of the narrative, emphasizing the universality of struggle, redemption, and the inexorable pull of the past. With the introduction of a twist that links the defense's evidence to Ayrika's obscured past, the chapter sets the stage for a riveting ascent towards the story's climax, ensuring readers are left eagerly anticipating the resolution of this increasingly convoluted tale. Chapter 7. The Unseen Bonds. The town, cloaked in the hesitant light of dawn, seemed to sense the undercurrents of change, its tranquility marred by the whispers of unfolding events. For Catelynn, each morning brought with it the heavy mantle of uncertainties, her days clouded by the looming shadow of the trial and the unsettling revelations that threatened their fight for justice. Yet, amidst this chaos, her encounters with Jules Marrow had become unexpected harbours of solace, his presence a steady constant in the maelstrom that was her life. The significance of this day was not lost on her, as she made her way to school, the crisp autumn air offering a semblance of clarity amid the turmoil. Today marked the beginning of a series of testimonies designed to dismantle the defence's unexpected evidence, a connection to Ayrika's past that held the potential to undermine their case. Catelynn stepped into the school, the familiar halls a stark contrast to the tumult within her. Among these walls, she sought the ordinary, the routine that lent her moments of reprieve from the storm. Her path led her to Jules's classroom, a decision driven by a desire for advice, or perhaps a bid to temper the fear gnawing at her resolve. Her knock was soft, almost hesitant, but Jules's response was immediate, a testament to the rapport that had blossomed between teacher and student. His classroom, usually a bastion of empirical thinking and structured thought, took on a different guise in that moment. It became a sanctuary of shared vulnerabilities. "Catelynn," Jules greeted, his tone carrying a warmth that belied the gravity of their situation. "What brings you here this early?" I needed to talk," Catelynn began, her voice faltering as the magnitude of her fears found voice. "About the trial and the evidence they've found. It's linked to my mom, something from before, something we never knew." Jules's expression, always an open book to those who cared to read, shifted subtly, the shadows of his own past flickering behind his gaze. "Sometimes," he ventured, settling into his role as confidant, "it's the unseen bonds that hold us together, the shared struggles. Your mother's past, whatever it may be, doesn't define your fight for justice. It's how you face this challenge that will." Their conversation meandered through the realms of fear, hope, and the unpredictability of life, mirroring the intricate dance of particles that they often discussed in the context of physics. It was during these moments of shared understanding that the door creaked open, heralding the arrival of an unexpected visitor, the defense attorney. The air thickened, the sudden intrusion a stark reminder of the world beyond the classroom. The attorney, a figure of contentious respect in the town, regarded Jules and Catelynn with a measured gaze before addressing the latter. "Miss, we need to discuss the upcoming testimony. There have been developments." Catelynn's heart plummeted, the word developments echoing ominously. Beside her, Jules stood, a sentinel of silent support. As if sensing the gravity of the situation, the attorney paused, then continued. "It seems there's more to the link between the evidence and your mother's past than we initially believed. A connection not just to her, but to someone else present today." His gaze flickered to Jules. The revelation struck like lightning, leaving a charged silence in its wake. Catelynn turned towards Jules, a multitude of questions written in her eyes. Jules, for his part, seemed to shrink, the weight of untold stories pressing down upon him. I didn't know," Jules stammered, his voice barely a whisper. "The connection, it's me, my past with Ayrika before." The classroom, once a haven of clarity and understanding, suddenly felt constricting, the air heavy with the weight of revelations yet to be fully disclosed. The defense attorney's presence, now a portentous spectre, underscored the complexities of their entangled pasts, a web of connections that held unforeseen implications for the trial and their lives. Catelynn, grappling with the shock, felt the certainties of her world shift. The bonds that had tethered her to Jules, a mentor and confidant, now seemed fraught with hidden truths, the scope of their impact yet to be unravelled. As the attorney excused himself, promising further details to come, Catelynn and Jules were left in the aftermath of a revelation that threatened to redefine their understanding of each other and the battle they were embroiled in. The classroom, a microcosm of their wider world, held them in a moment of suspended reality, the future uncertain, their next steps shrouded in the shadows of the past. The chapter closes on this precipice of uncertainty. The revelations about Jules and Ayrika's past connection sending ripples through the narrative, challenging the characters' relationships and perceptions, and setting the stage for a compelling confrontation with the truths they thought they knew. Chapter 8. The Ties That Bind. In the immediate fallout of the revelation, the classroom felt like a world paused at the brink. Catelynn, her gaze locked with Jules's, found herself navigating an ocean of conflicting emotions. Betrayal warred with understanding, shock grappled with the vestiges of trust. The man before her, who had become her steadfast guide through tumultuous seas, was now revealed as part of the tempest themselves. Jules, acutely aware of the shift in the room's atmosphere, struggled with the avalanche of emotions that threatened to engulf him. Guilt, shame, and a burgeoning fear that he had irrevocably damaged the fragile trust Catelynn had placed in him. He had become, unwittingly, the embodiment of the past's unyielding grip on the present. "I need you to explain." Catelynn's voice, though steady, betrayed a tremor of vulnerability. "Explain how you're part of this, how my mother's past, and now this trial, involves you." Jules took a slow, steadying breath, his mind racing to weave coherence from the chaos. "Years ago, before Catelynn, your mother and we knew each other. It was a different life, a different world. I was struggling, lost in the throes of my own battles. Ayrika, she was there." He paused, the weight of history pressing down upon him, a history he had tried, and failed, to keep at arm's length. It wasn't something either of us intended to revisit. Our paths diverged for a reason. When I came here, to teach, to start anew, I had no idea that the past would circle back like this, that it would intertwine with the ordeal you and your mother are facing now. Catelynn, digesting his words, wrestled with a swirl of newfound knowledge. The narrative of her family's ordeal, already complex, had gained another layer, one that was intimately woven into the fabric of their current plight. Then, everything we've shared, every conversation, it was all under the shadow of this secret, she whispered, her heart a battleground of disillusionment and the dregs of faith. Jules, visibly pained by the accusation, responded with a fervour born of desperation. "No, Catelynn, not everything. My intent, my wish to help you, to be someone you could rely on in the storm, that was genuine. This hidden connection, it doesn't change my commitment to supporting you." The room hummed with palpable tension, a tapestry of truths and lies, past and present, woven too closely together. Before either could navigate this precarious moment further, the sound of hurried footsteps broke their standoff. It was Ayrika, her eyes wide with a mix of concern and an urgency that belied an unsettling morning. Upon seeing Jules, her expression shifted, recognition sparking a complex array of emotions. "Jules, after all these years," she murmured, the acknowledgement filling the space between them with a history that Catelynn could only guess at. "Catelynn," Ayrika continued, turning to her daughter, "we need to leave. The trial, there's been a development, something big, something that could change everything." Confused and still reeling from the morning's revelations, Catelynn looked between her mother and Jules, seeking an anchor in the storm. "What development? What's happened?" "It's the evidence," Ayrika explained, her voice tinged with a mixture of hope and disbelief. "New information has come to light, information that vindicates your father's alleged actions. It seems there might be a possibility of exoneration." The words crashed over Catelynn like a tidal wave, leaving her grasping for comprehension. Exoneration. After everything, the possibility that the darkness they had fought so hard against could be dispelled by a twist of fate was both exhilarating and terrifying. As they stood at the precipice of this new revelation, the air charged with potential and peril, another presence entered the room, casting a long shadow across their gathered forms. "It seems we're all here," a voice intoned, deep and resonating with an authority that demanded attention. The figure stepped forward, revealing himself as an investigator, his eyes alight with the promise of untold secrets. "I have news. About the case, about your husband, and a hidden truth that could change the course of everything." The chapter closes on this precipice of anticipation, leaving readers hanging on the cusp of a revelation that promises to unravel the deeply held truths of Ayrika, Catelynn, and Jules's intertwined fates. The ties that bind them, forged by history and circumstance, teeter on the brink of either salvaging or splintering the fragile hope they cling to, awaiting the impact of the investigator's ominous declaration. Chapter 9. Unraveling Threads. The room, once a simple classroom, now seemed a crucible where destinies were to be reshaped, its air thick with anticipation and the weight of impending revelations. The investigator, his presence a harbinger of truths yet untold, stood at the fulcrum of converging pasts, his next words poised to alter the course of the narrative irrevocably. As mentioned, he began, his voice steady, commanding the attention of Ayrika, Catelynn, and Jules. New evidence has surfaced, evidence that casts doubt on the nature of the accusations against Mr. Marrow. Catelynn's brow furrowed, confusion marring her features. Marrow? But, she began, only to be silenced by a gentle hand from Ayrika, signalling her to patience. Jules, the colour drained from his face, seemed a man on the edge of a precipice, the ghost of his past about to envelop him once more. His gaze, locked on the investigator, sought answers, or perhaps redemption. The investigator continued, "This evidence pertains not just to the case at hand, but to a series of events dating back years before your family's current ordeal. It seems there was another, whose actions have been masked, mistaken for those of Mr. Marrow." The room tensed, a tapestry of past and present weaving tighter, threatening to suffocate or liberate, contingent upon the revelations to come. Ayrika, her expression a mask of controlled anxiety, finally spoke. "What are you saying? That the man we've been fighting?" The investigator nodded. "Precisely. The real perpetrator has been hiding in plain sight, masquerading innocence. Someone from your past, Ayrika, intertwined with Mr. Marrow's." A silent gasp punctuated the revelation, a sound of dawning comprehension and disbelief mingling in the charged air. The past, it seemed, was a shadow that danced just out of reach, its true form now beginning to emerge from the fog of misconception and misattribution. "But how?" Catelynn asked, her voice barely a whisper, a plea for clarity amidst the torrent of revelations. It was a careful orchestration, a manipulation of facts and evidence designed to cast suspicion away from the guilty party. But with the new evidence brought to light, we can now see the connections, trace the lines back to their true origin, the investigator elaborated, his tone imbued with the gravity of his findings. Jules, grappling with the implications, found his voice, fear and hope warring within him. "And what of my role in this? How does my past with Ayrika fit into these machinations?" The investigator turned to him, a glint of empathy in his otherwise stoic demeanour. "Your connection with Ayrika, while inadvertently entangled in this web, might well serve as a key to unravelling the whole sordid affair. Your shared history, once viewed as a complicating factor, could now illuminate the path to justice." A heavy silence settled, each person lost in their maelstrom of thoughts. The revelation that an unseen orchestrator had manipulated their lives, casting long shadows across their paths, was both a vindication and a new burden. The pain of the past was not absolved, but given a new antagonist, one whose unveiling promised retribution, but also a reopening of old wounds. As they absorbed the implications, Catelynn's gaze met Jules's, a myriad of emotions traversing the short distance between them. The betrayal, resentment, and confusion that had threatened to sever their bond now seemed premature, their mutual understanding and shared purpose finding new footing amidst the chaos. Yet, as the investigator prepared to divulge the identity of the true perpetrator, a sudden, harrowing interruption shattered the moment. A deafening explosion, originating from somewhere within the school's confines, rocked the room, sending books tumbling, windows shattering, and hearts racing. Panic ensued as the four occupants, driven by a primal instinct for survival, rushed towards the door, only to find their path obstructed by a billowing smoke and the unmistakable sound of chaos unfolding beyond. The chapter closes on this cliffhanger, the narrative's journey through the labyrinth of past grievances and secrets now violently intersected by an unforeseen crisis. The unravelling threads of the story, poised to reveal the machinations of the true antagonist, are momentarily cast aside as survival instinct takes precedence, leaving readers on the edge, craving resolution in a tale where the past's shadows loom large over the quest for justice and understanding. Chapter 10. A Tapestry Unravelled. As autumn cloaked the foothills in hues of amber and gold, a palpable sense of expectation permeated the air, mirroring the tumultuous undercurrents that ebbed and flowed within the courtroom's austere walls. The stage was set for revelations that would either mend the fragmented existence of Ayrika and Catelynn or plunge them further into the abyss of despair. Amid this crucible of human fate, Jules Marrow found himself an unlikely linchpin, his past actions unknowingly catalyzing the present maelstrom. The courtroom buzzed with whispered conjectures as the prosecutor called a surprise witness. A silhouette from Jules's past that emerged into the harsh fluorescence of the legal arena. The tension in the air thickened, a tangible entity that ensnared the courtroom's occupants in a silent grip of anticipation. Evelyn Marrow, Jules's estranged sister, approached the stand, her presence a harbinger of the intertwined destinies that had led each character to this nexus of truth and consequence. Evelyn's testimony unveiled a hidden chapter of Jules's life, one marred by a tragic incident that had set him on a path of redemption, and ultimately to the lives of Ayrika and Catelynn. The revelation of Jules's indirect connection to the man Ayrika had once called husband, through tangled webs of past misdeeds and retribution, cast a shadow of doubt over his intentions and allegiance, challenging the foundation of trust he had built with Catelynn. Amidst the unfolding drama, an unforeseen complication arose, sending ripples through the courtroom and beyond its confining walls. A crucial piece of evidence, previously thought to be the linchpin for Ayrika's vindication, was declared inadmissible, a verdict that sucked the air from the room, leaving a vacuum of disbelief in its wake. The revelation, coupled with Evelyn's damning connection to their troubled past, left Ayrika and Catelynn grappling with a sense of betrayal, questioning the very fabric of the alliances they had formed in their quest for justice. Outside the solemnity of the courthouse, the town itself seemed to hold its breath, the community's moral compass oscillating between empathy and suspicion as the shadow of the trial loomed large. Within this maelstrom, the fragile bond between Jules and Catelynn frayed under the weight of unveiled secrets and unasked questions. Catelynn, her faith in Jules's mentorship shaken, retreated into a chasm of disillusionment, her resolve faltering as the foundations of her trust crumbled. As the day waned, cloaked in the melancholy light of dusk, a confrontation unfolded in the quiet desolation of the courthouse's steps. Ayrika, her spirit battling between despair and defiance, sought answers from Jules, whose own demons lurked just beneath the surface of his remorseful countenance. Their exchange, charged with the raw intensity of betrayal, desperation, and a yearning for absolution, climaxed with the revelation of a clandestine meeting between Jules and the defense team, a rendezvous that threatened to unravel the fragile threads of solidarity that bound them. The chapter closes on a precipice of uncertainty, with Ayrika and Catelynn isolated in their struggle, the fabric of trust and loyalty torn asunder. Jules, standing at the crossroads of redemption and condemnation, is left to confront the spectres of his past actions and their ramifications on the fate of those he sought to protect. As the final echoes of their confrontation fade into the encroaching darkness, the ominous chime of the courthouse clock marks the passage of time, a relentless march towards an uncertain and foreboding horizon. As the shadows of evening stretched across the town, a mysterious figure observed the fracturing group from the anonymity of the dimming light. Their presence, unnoticed by Ayrika, Catelynn and Jules, promised the unveiling of truths so deeply buried that their exposure threatened to alter the course of the trial and the futures of all involved. The invisible threads of fate, intertwined with the actions of this unseen observer, hinted at a climax no one could have anticipated, leaving the reader poised on the edge of revelation and retribution. Chapter 11. Echoes of the Unseen. As the gossamer threads of morning mist dissipated under the nascent rays of dawn, the town of Maine's Foothills awoke to a day shrouded in expectation and whispered apprehensions. The courthouse, an edifice of justice and truths half revealed, stood solemn and foreboding against the skyline, its silhouette a silent witness to the human dramas unfurling within its walls. Ayrika, traversing the chasm that lay between despair and hope, found herself standing once more at the precipice of uncertainty. The turbulent revelations of the previous day had left her spirit beleaguered, her resolve fluttering like a tattered banner in the storm of betrayal and veiled truths. Yet, Within her, a flame of defiance persisted, fueled by the love for her daughter Catelynn and the unyielding desire for a future untainted by the shadows of their past. Catelynn, her faith in Jules Marrow shattered beneath the weight of unveiled secrets and perceived deceptions, grappled with the spectre of disillusionment. The guiding light Jules had represented was now obscured by the clouds of doubt, leaving her to navigate the murky waters of trust, re-evaluated. Though buffeted by waves of betrayal, Catelynn could not extinguish the ember of hope that Jules's intentions, however misguided, stemmed from a place of redemption and not malevolence. In the silence of the early morning, before the town stirred to life, Jules Marrow found himself a solitary figure amidst the fog. The revelations of his past, intertwined with the fates of Ayrika and Catelynn, weighed heavily upon him, a mantle of guilt and remorse that threatened to suffocate his resolve. The path to redemption, once illuminated by the prospect of aiding those entwined with his own turbulent history, now seemed fraught with thorns and shadows. As the trio converged upon the courthouse, each ensnared in their web of thoughts and doubts, an eerie calm pervaded the atmosphere, the calm before a storm of truths yet to be unleashed. The day promised a cascade of revelations, with the mysterious figure from the previous evening poised at the heart of the unfolding drama. The courtroom, buzzing with low murmurs and shuffling papers, served as the stage for the climactic revelations that were to shape the destinies of all involved. The prosecutor, a figure of authority and commanding presence, introduced an unexpected development that sent ripples of shock and disbelief through the assembly. A clandestine meeting between the defense and a key witness was exposed, the implications of which could potentially unravel the fabric of the prosecution's case against Ayrika's husband. Amid the ensuing confusion, a voice, clear and unwavering, cut through the tumult, demanding attention. "I have something to say." All eyes turned towards the back of the room, where the mysterious figure from the evening before stood, no longer a shadowy observer, but a participant in the theatre of justice. As the figure stepped forward into the light, a collective gasp filled the room. The familiar face of a person thought lost to the past, a ghost from Ayrika's and Jules's intertwined histories, stood before them. "I'm here to confess," the person began, their voice imbued with the weight of untold stories and concealed truths. "The sins we bury in the dark don't always stay hidden. It's time the true story was told." The courtroom fell into stunned silence as the figure began to unravel the threads of a narrative long concealed, shedding light on the intricacies of the case and the entangled destinies of Ayrika, Catelynn, and Jules. As the tale unfolded, a paradigm shift occurred. The facade of villainy and heroism constructed by the trial began to crumble, revealing a more complex tapestry of human frailty, remorse, and the inexorable quest for redemption. In this moment of revelation, Ayrika, Catelynn, and Jules found themselves at a crossroads. The ties that had bound their fates, once strained by secrets and doubts, now beckoned them towards understanding and forgiveness. The shadows that had enshrouded their path began to dissipate, revealing a glimmer of hope on the horizon. Just as the narrative approached a semblance of resolution, a sudden, sharp disruption pierced the air. The courtroom doors swung open, admitting a figure whose mere presence promised to upend the delicate balance of truth and retribution that had been painstakingly established. With a stride that resonated with authority and purpose, the newcomer, a high-ranking official with the power to alter the course of justice, paused at the threshold, surveying the assembly with a gaze that promised revelations with far-reaching implications. As the figure's identity became apparent, the collective breath of the courtroom's occupants hitched in their throats. The newcomer, harbinger of unseen truths and untapped revelations, bore news that threatened to shatter the fragile peace that had just begun to crystallize. In that electrifying moment, as past and present converged in the crucible of justice, the realms of possibility expanded, weaving the promise of redemption with the spectre of yet unraveled secrets. The profound silence that enveloped the courtroom was a silent testament to the journey's complexity, where light and shadow danced in the pursuit of truth, setting the stage for a resolution none could have anticipated. Chapter 12. The Dawning Light. The silence that held the courtroom in its grasp stretched into infinity, every heart within its walls suspended in a moment that seemed both an ending and a beginning. The high-ranking official, standing at the fulcrum of countless gazes, cleared his throat, a prelude to the revelations he was about to unleash upon the solemn gathering. "I am here not to further the shadows of past misdeeds," he began, his voice steady and imbued with the gravity of his office, but to illuminate truths long obscured by the intricacies of legal battles and personal vendettas. He unfolded a narrative not of damning evidence or vindictive accusations, but of redemption and the power of truth. The investigation, extended and exhaustive, had unearthed not only the innocence of Ayrika's husband regarding the specific crimes he stood accused of, but also painted a complex picture of manipulation and deceit by a third entity, weaving the delicate threads of justice and morality into a new tapestry. Within the hushed expanse of the courtroom, as the full scope of the official's revelations dawned upon the assembly, the air shifted, charged with the weight of new understanding. Ayrika, her gaze locked onto the official, felt the shackles of the past years dissolve, releasing her into a reality where the spectre of her husband's accused crimes no longer defined her family's existence. Catelynn, standing steadfast by her mother's side, grasped Ayrika's hand, a silent testament to their unbreakable bond. The revelations, while not absolving the pain of their experiences, shed light on a path forward, unshadowed by the burdens they had carried. Jules Marrow, who had endured the torment of his own guilt and the suspicion of those he sought to help, found in the official's words a balm for his battered spirit. His journey, intertwined with Ayrika's and Catelynn's through the vicissitudes of fate, now found a measure of peace, the promise of new beginnings, etched in the possibility of forgiven pasts. As the courtroom emptied, a sense of collective catharsis permeated the air. The participants in this protracted saga emerging into the light of day, where the shadows of the courthouse seemed less foreboding, the sky a shade brighter. Ayrika, Catelynn, and Jules, joined by a small circle of friends and family, gathered outside, not to revel in victory, but to acknowledge the journey they had undertaken, the trials they had endured, and the promise of the days yet to come. The invisible observer, once a harbinger of truths untold, now stood among them, not as an outsider, but as a beacon of the power inherent in seeking and speaking truth, irrespective of the personal cost. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of fire and gold, Ayrika took a moment to address those gathered, her voice imbued with the strength and resolve that had guided her through the darkest of days. "Today marks not an end, but a beginning," Ayrika affirmed, her gaze sweeping across the faces of those who had stood by her, a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who seek justice, who fight for truth amidst despair. "Our journey forward is untrodden, the path unclear, but the light we have been granted today will guide our strides into tomorrow." Catelynn, inspired by her mother's words, cast a glance at Jules, their shared experiences a foundation upon which empathy and understanding had been built. Their eyes met, a silent acknowledgement of the roads they had travelled, the pain they had shared, and the hope that the future held. As the gathered group dispersed, the ties that had bound them through adversity remained, not as chains, but as threads woven into the fabric of their lives, a testament to resilience, forgiveness, and the enduring quest for light in the shadow of hardship. The story of Ayrika, Catelynn, and Jules, a tapestry of trials and triumph, concluded not with a farewell, but with a promise of new beginnings, of stories yet to be told, and journeys yet to be undertaken. The legacy of their ordeal, etched in the annals of a small town nestled in the foothills of Maine, stood as a beacon to all who traverse the twilight between darkness and dawn, a reminder that even in the deepest of shadows, the light of truth, hope, and redemption resides, waiting to be discovered. Thank you for leaning to my ghostwriter. I hope you enjoyed the book. Please leave a review on Amazon. Here is some additional book title: Shadows on the Foothills. Premise: in a small town nestled in the tranquility of Maine's foothills, a woman struggles against the darkness of her husband's abuse, safeguarding her children while confronting societal disbelief and the pursuit of justice. The narrative chronicles the journey of Ayrika and her daughter Catelynn as they navigate through the revealing of unspeakable truths, culminating in a poignant quest for healing, empathy, and redemption through their interactions with Jules Marrow, a teacher with a troubled past. Setting: the serene, picturesque town of Maine's Foothills serves as the contrasting backdrop for the story's poignant exploration of human frailty and resilience. Book style: a blend of psychological thriller and intricate family drama, underscored by themes of survival, the complexities of human nature, and the potential for redemption. Main characters: 1. Ayrika, a resilient yet tormented wife and mother, whose quiet strength becomes a beacon of hope. 2. Catelynn, Ayrika's determined and protective daughter, embodying the fierce will to protect her family and emerge stronger. 3. Jules Marrow, a high school teacher battling his past mistakes, seeking redemption through guiding others. Supporting characters: 1. Zeppelin, Ayrika's younger son, embodying innocence and the profound impact of familial bonds. 2. The abusive husband, a dark figure whose actions set the narrative in motion, representing the dual nature of humanity. Chapter outlines. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Serenity. Introduction to the idyllic setting of Maine's Foothills, contrasted with the hidden turmoil within Ayrika's home, Ayrika's internal battle and the facade she maintains. Chapter 2. Whispers in the Shadows. Catelynn's perspective on her fractured family life, highlighting her bond with Zeppelin and her observations of her father's duplicity. Chapter 3. The Breaking Dawn, the escalation of abuse and Ayrika's realization that she must protect her children at all costs. The community's initial disbelief juxtaposed with Ayrika's steadfast resolve. Chapter 4. Echoes of Truth, the revelation of the husband's crimes, leading to social isolation, but also drawing Ayrika and Catelynn closer. Chapter 5. Amidst the halls of justice, the legal battle begins, offering a glimpse into the family's hopes for justice and the societal challenges they face. Chapter 6. Portraits of the Past. Backstory of Jules Marrow. His struggles with addiction and loss, setting the stage for his path to redemption. Chapter 7. Unlikely Paths. Catelynn's interactions with Jules reveal common ground, marking the beginning of an impactful mentorship. Chapter 8. The Strength of Vulnerability. Ayrika's testimony shakes the community, reshaping their husband. His transgressions, vile and unfathomable, remained shrouded in mystery for years. Cloaked in manipulation and fear, he led a double life, betraying his wife with unspeakable acts involving underage victims. The whispers of his deeds were muffled by disbelief and inaction, allowing darkness to fester under the guise of normalcy. As the shadows of his sins began to emerge, the community's disbelief turned to horror. The journey for justice led through the solemn halls of the local courthouse, a place of revered truths and laws, standing stoically amidst the town's rustic beauty. Its architecture, both imposing and secure, bore witness to the countless tales of human frailty and strength. Here, amid the echoes of gavel strikes and solemn vows, the quest for retribution against the husband unfolded, gripping the hearts of those who dared to hope for vindication. The curtain on this grim saga finally drew in the cold, unforgiving confines of the prison, a place far removed from the picturesque landscapes of the foothills, where freedom is but a distant memory. It was within these barred enclosures, under the watchful eyes of justice, that the abuser's fate was sealed. The irony of his destiny, however, twisted the knife of retribution. No lengthy sentence to contemplate his atrocities, no prolonged suffering akin to that which he inflicted. His life, much like the innocence he ravaged, was abruptly extinguished, leaving a bitter taste in the mouths of those who yearned for justice. As a decade since the ordeal's conclusion passed, the small town in Maine's Foothills attempted to reclaim its tranquility, forever changed by the knowledge of the evil that once dwelled among them. The home, the courthouse, and the prison stood as silent testaments to the struggle between darkness and light, a somber reminder of the scars left on the soul of a community. Yet, beneath the surface of this seeming peace, the echoes of the past continue to haunt, a bittersweet symphony of justice served and innocence lost. Under the placid gaze of Maine's ever-watchful hills, amid the gentle rhythms of rural life, there unfolded a tale so shrouded in shadows that even the brightest day seemed to cower before its chill. It was in this picturesque enclave, amidst the eternal dance of seasons, where winter's frost gives way to spring's bloom and summer's languor succumbs to autumn's crisp farewell, that the mirage of serenity was shattered, revealing the abyss that lay beneath. At the heart of our tale was an abode that, to the untrained eye, whispered of homely charm and the simple joys of sequestered life. But behind its welcoming facade, within its very walls, there thrived a secret of such malevolence, a terror so profound that it seemed to mock the beauty of its surroundings. Here resided a woman, ensnared in matrimonial chains, her spirit subjected to the relentless tempest of her husband's ire, a man whose heart, if one could call it such, harboured dark desires and untold cruelties. This man, a defiler of innocence, donned the mask of the ordinary, walking amongst the townsfolk as one of their own, his sinister predilections lurking in the shadows of his double life. His abhorrent acts, though whispers of them fluttered like cursed winds in the ears of those who dared listen, were often lost in the cacophony of disbelief and societal neglect. The home that should have been a sanctuary became instead a theatre of nightmares, its stage set for atrocities that defied comprehension. As the veil of secrecy began to fray, the horror that seeped through the cracks painted the town in hues of dread, turning neighbours into wary strangers, their trust eroded by the burgeoning realization of the malevolence that had festered in their midst. The silent cries for justice found their echo in the solemn corridors of the courthouse, that venerable arbiter of fate nestled within the town's heart. Within its hallowed walls, the community's lingering hopes and fears converged, seeking solace in the promise of retribution, a balm for the wounds inflicted by one of their own. The denouement of this tragic narrative found its stage not amidst verdant fields or beneath the watchful hills, but in the sterile, suffocating ambience of a prison. Here, far removed from the idyllic facade of the world outside, the final act was played out, delivering not the catharsis of prolonged penitence, but an abrupt cessation of the perpetrator's thread, snipped with the cold indifference of fate. His demise, swift as it was, left behind a void filled with the echoes of what might have been. Justice, perhaps, or merely the illusion thereof, leaving a bitter residue in the hearts of those who had clamoured for a reckoning. As years wove their inexorable tapestry over the scars of the past, the town, nestled in Maine's comforting embrace, strove to reclaim the innocence it had lost. The house that once bore witness to unspeakable sorrow, the courthouse that echoed with the clamour for justice, the prison that marked the end of a sordid chapter, all stood as silent guardians of memory, monuments to the fragile boundary separating light from darkness. Yet beneath the veneer of tranquility, in the whispering winds and the shifting shadows, the legacy of those harrowing days lingered, a reminder of the eternal struggle between the darkness within and the light that seeks to dispel it. Ayrika, a woman of steel and velvet, carried within her the dual legacy of indomitable spirit and boundless compassion. At 39, her life had become a tapestry weaved with threads of joy and sorrow, light, and unbeknownst to many, profound darkness. Married for 17 years to a man whose visage to the world was that of charm and warmth, Ayrika had, over time, become the keeper of a grim secret, a living testament to the adage that not all prisons have bars. In the years before motherhood enshrined her in its sacred fold, Ayrika lived with reckless abandon, a life sprinkled with epic parties and adventures that danced on the edge of dawn. Yet, as the first wails of Catelynn pierced the silent complacency of her life, followed by Zeppelin's joyful entrance into the world, Ayrika embraced a new role with fervour unimagined. She morphed seamlessly into the embodiment of maternal dedication, pouring her essence into the sanctuary of her family. The transformation was total, her earlier self receding like a tide, leaving behind the smooth sand of stability and routine. Yet, amidst the laughter and the seemingly mundane artifacts of domestic life, there brewed a tempest, silent and insidious. Her husband, the man who had once been the co-author of her youth's adventures, had over time revealed himself to be a maelstrom of cruel impulses and dark inclinations. Beneath the veneer of normalcy, he terrorized Ayrika, subjecting her to a litany of abuses that left scars unseen but deeply felt. The picturesque home, set against the bucolic tranquility of Maine's rolling hills, had become a stage for a macabre play, with Ayrika unwillingly cast in a role she never auditioned for. Driven by a primal instinct to protect her offspring, Ayrika enveloped her children in an aura of normalcy, a bubble that kept the lurking shadows at bay. Yet, the dichotomy of her existence, of presenting a facade of an ordinary family while wrestling with eldritch horrors behind closed doors, took its toll. The spark in her eyes dimmed, not from the passage of years, but from the weight of untold stories, of screams muffled by the necessity of silence. The day the veil lifted, when the dam holding back the river of secrets finally broke, was not heralded by an apocalyptic revelation or a grand gesture of defiance. It was a whisper, a near imperceptible tremor that shattered the illusion. As the truth bled into the open, staining the pristine image of their life, Ayrika found herself at the epicenter of a maelstrom of societal scrutiny, pity, and surprisingly, admiration. For in laying bare the depth of her suffering, she had unwittingly become a beacon for others ensnared in similar nocturnal existences, a silent scream urging them towards the light. The courtroom, with its lofty ideals and stoic grandeur, became the arena where Ayrika, stripped of her imposed anonymity, stood tall. Her testimony, a litany of horrors endured in the pursuit of protecting her progeny, resonated with a force that echoed far beyond the confines of its walls. In her words, a catharsis, a shedding of years of accumulated shadows, offering, at last, a glimpse into the resolve that had allowed her to endure, to hope amidst despair. Though the saga that had unfolded in the bucolic setting of Maine reached its crescendo with the cold finality of justice served, for Ayrika the journey was far from over. The man who had been both her tormentor and the father of her children was gone, his existence snuffed out, leaving behind a myriad of questions with no answers. Yet, in the quiet aftermath, amidst the ruins of her once coveted privacy, Ayrika emerged not as a victim of her circumstances, but as a survivor, a phoenix risen with wings unfurled against the backdrop of adversity. As the years unfurled, weaving healing upon the scars of the past, Ayrika and her children sought to reclaim the chapters yet unwritten, to etch upon the canvas of their lives a new narrative. The home that once echoed with whispers of terror now resounded with laughter, the courthouse a distant memory rather than a looming spectre. Yet, beneath the tranquility, in the tales whispered on the wind, the legacy of Ayrika's ordeal lingered, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and its capacity to outshine the malice that seeks to dim its light. Ayrika, once ensnared in the web of another's making, had emerged not only as the custodian of her children's futures, but as a harbinger of hope for those still ensnared in the silence of their own battles. Her journey, marked by valleys of despair and mountains of resolve, stood as a beacon, guiding others from the shadow into the dawn. Catelynn, from the tender age of 12, embarked on a journey that would come to define the resilience and energy that simmered within her petite frame, characteristics inherited from her mother, Ayrika. Much like the tempestuous Maine weather, Catelynn's spirit weathered transitions from clear, sunny innocence to the storm clouds of trials, yet she remained unbroken, her flame undiminished. Growing up as Ayrika's firstborn, Catelynn was the unwitting witness to the dichotomy of life's beauty and cruelty. At an age where the world should have appeared full of wonder, she had to navigate the complexities of a dual existence, public smiles masking private tears. Catelynn's formative years were shaped by the protective love of her mother, a love so fierce it built a fortress around her and her brother, keeping them shielded from the darkest truths of their existence. Catelynn, much like her mother, possessed a strength and stubbornness that belied her diminutive stature. On the school's sports fields, she was a whirlwind of energy and determination, a testament to her boundless spirit. Though high school introduced new challenges, with teenage vanity taking precedence over playground victories, she humorously professed a disdain for sweating. Her resilience never wavered. As life unfolded, Catelynn's role within her fragmented family became more pronounced. She was the bridge between her younger brother Zeppelin and Ayrika, often embodying the role of mediator, protector, and confidant. Her early teenage years, filled with internal battles between the desire for a normal adolescence and the reality of her family's secrets, sculpted her into a beacon of support and strength for her mother and brother. Her relationship with her mother was a delicate tapestry of love, respect, and mutual protection. Ayrika, in her relentless pursuit of normalcy for her children, often found solace in Catelynn's unwavering support. The unspoken words between them carried the weight of shared burdens, an understanding that transcended the necessity for explicit communication. Catelynn, in her precocious wisdom, became Ayrika's anchor, a constant reminder of why the fight for a better tomorrow was always worth it. Catelynn's personality, nurtured by the trials and tribulations of her upbringing, blossomed into a remarkable blend of her mother's indomitable spirit and unique sass. Her ability to speak her mind, a trait gleaned from Ayrika, was tempered with a compassion and empathy that was all her own. Even in the throes of adolescence, she exhibited an extraordinary maturity, understanding the gravity of her family's situation, while simultaneously yearning for the simplicity of a carefree youth. As Ayrika's story unfolded in the public eye, Catelynn stood by her side, a testament to the enduring strength of their bond. She watched as her mother transformed their shared suffering into a rally cry for change, advocating for those who remained ensnared in the silence of their own battles. Catelynn's admiration for Ayrika knew no bounds, seeing her not just as a mother, but as a warrior, a beacon of hope for all who faced the darkness. Despite the upheaval that defined much of her early life, Catelynn harbored dreams and ambitions of her own. Her aspiration to carve a path distinct from the shadows of their past drove her towards the future with a relentless optimism, armed with the resilience inherited from Ayrika. Their journey, though marred by scars, was also adorned with the unbreakable bond of a family that had survived the unimaginable. As Ayrika began to rediscover her identity beyond the confines of her circumstances, Catelynn too embarked on her own journey of self-discovery. The legacy of their shared ordeal lingered, not as a chain binding them to the past, but as a compass guiding them towards new horizons. Catelynn, with her vibrant spirit and profound depth, evolved from the child enveloped in her mother's protective embrace to a formidable young woman in her own right. Her story, inextricably linked with Ayrika's, was a testament to the power of love, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of light in the face of darkness. Within this tapestry of resilience and unyielding spirit that defines the lives of Catelynn and her mother, enters Jules Marrow, a character whose existence intertwines significantly with the main protagonist to reveal layers of complexity, growth, and eventual redemption in this deeply emotional narrative. Jules, initially introduced as a seemingly incongruous figure in Catelynn's life, embodies the nuances of a person shaped by regret, seeking atonement in an environment that often seems unforgiving. At the age of 34, Jules serves as a physical education teacher at the high school Catelynn attends, his past a well-guarded fortress that he seldom allows anyone to breach. Physically, Jules is unremarkable at first glance, his demeanor defined more by the weight of his introspection than by any striking physical attributes. With medium height, a slender build, and hair that's beginning to thin more than he'd like to admit, Jules presents an everyman appearance. Yet, it's his eyes, deep-set and often reflecting a myriad of unspoken thoughts, that hint at a history richer and more convoluted than his facade suggests. Jules's past is marred by decisions that led to devastating consequences, closely mirroring the gravitas of Catelynn's familial struggles, albeit from a contrasting perspective. Once a promising athlete with aspirations that soared beyond the sleepy confines of their main setting, Jules found himself ensnared in the throes of addiction, a path that inexorably led to the dissolution of his most treasured relationships and the collapse of his future ambitions. The intersection of Catelynn's and Jules's lives begins at a pivotal moment when, during a routine interaction at school, he inadvertently uncovers facets of her life that resonate deeply with his own experiences. Recognizing the signs of a young soul grappling with circumstances beyond her control, Jules sees in Catelynn a reflection of the sister he failed, a turning point that ignites his determination to provide the guidance and support he once lacked. Jules's role in the narrative evolves from one of a peripheral figure to a central influence in Catelynn's journey. His approach to mentorship, however, is far from conventional. Steering clear from overt intervention, Jules cultivates an environment where Catelynn feels empowered to confront her challenges head-on, instilling in her a conviction that her past need not dictate the trajectory of her future. Their interactions, marked by moments of candid vulnerability and mutual respect, become a cornerstone of the story. Jules, with his patient demeanor and an unwavering belief in Catelynn's potential, becomes an unlikely catalyst for her realization that strength often stems from the courage to embrace one's vulnerabilities. As the narrative progresses, the layers of Jules's character unfold, revealing a man struggling with his own demons while striving to make amends through the positive influence he exerts on Catelynn and other students. His journey towards self-forgiveness mirrors the overarching theme of resilience and redemption that courses through the story. Jules's relationship with the wider cast, including Ayrika, is laced with complexities. Initially viewed with skepticism due to his past and the nature of his involvement with Catelynn, he gradually earns Ayrika's trust as his intentions and the positive impact on her daughter become apparent. This evolving dynamic adds a rich layer to the narrative, illustrating the transformative power of empathy, understanding, and second chances. Through Jules Marrow, the story delves deeper into the exploration of human frailty, the capacity for change, and the indomitable spirit of transcendence. His presence in Catelynn's life, serving both as a mirror to her struggles and a beacon guiding her towards self-realization, enriches the narrative tapestry, emphasizing the theme that redemption and growth are attainable, regardless of the shadows that once defined us. Summary of Chapters 1 to 5. Chapters 1 and 2, the setup. In the serene setting of Maine's foothills, beneath its tranquil exterior, Ayrika and her daughter Catelynn navigate a life marked by domestic anguish and concealed turmoil. Ayrika, a resilient mother, grapples with the dark realities of her husband's abuse, desperately trying to shield her children from the horrors of their home life. Catelynn, on the cusp of adulthood, bears the weight of her family's secrets, finding solace and a semblance of order in her academic pursuits, particularly in physics, which offers her a language to articulate the chaos engulfing her personal life. These chapters establish the contrasting worlds of superficial serenity and internal chaos, foreshadowing the collision course between Ayrika's pursuit of truth and societal disbelief. Chapter 3. Catalyst for Action. The burgeoning realization of the necessity to confront their grim reality propels Ayrika to take decisive action against her husband, culminating in a reckoning with societal disbelief and the inherent challenges of seeking justice. Ayrika's internal battle reflects the broader theme of struggle against oppressive forces, both within and external to oneself, establishing a motif of resilience in the face of adversity. The chapter articulates Ayrika's determination, paralleling her resolve with the principles of physics, emphasizing the unpredictability of outcomes and the butterfly effect of her decisions on the family's future. Chapter 4. Exposure and Isolation. Ayrika and Catelynn's plight becomes public, bringing to light the depths of the husband's deception and abuse. This exposure precipitates a shift in community perception, from skepticism to a complicated mixture of guilt, curiosity, and disbelief. Jules Marrow, a character emblematic of redemption and personal growth, emerges as an ally, symbolizing the importance of support and understanding in navigating traumatic revelations. This chapter delves into the emotional turmoil and societal dynamics triggered by the unveiling of truth, exploring themes of vulnerability, the quest for justice, and the power dynamics at play in a community forced to confront its failures. Chapter 5. Trial and Tribulation. The commencement of the trial serves as the critical juncture where Ayrika and Catelynn's fight for justice plays out in the public and legal arenas. The courtroom becomes a battleground where the complexities of their abuse are laid bare, challenging societal prejudices and the legal system's capacity to administer justice. The introduction of a figure from Ayrika's past by the defense introduces a new layer of conflict, intertwining personal history with the present legal battle and testing the strength of Ayrika and Catelynn's resolve. Emotional depth is explored through the family's collective and individual responses to the trial's pressures, underscoring themes of resilience, the interplay between public perception and personal truth, and the quest for a semblance of closure. Thematic exploration and character arcs. Throughout these chapters, the narrative weaves a complex tapestry of scientific metaphors, particularly those found in physics, to parallel the emotional journey of its characters. The scientific exploration of light's duality mirrors the dual existence Ayrika and Catelynn navigate, outward normalcy veiled over inner turmoil. The principle of the conservation of energy metaphorically underscores their resilience, highlighting how their personal struggles transform them rather than diminish them. Ayrika's arc from a tormented wife to a beacon of resilience sets the emotional depth of the story, exemplifying the transition from victimhood to agency. Catelynn's growth is marked by her increasing involvement in their fight for justice, showcasing the development of her maturity and understanding of the complexities surrounding her family's circumstances. Jules's introduction and burgeoning influence introduce themes of redemption and the possibility of change, adding depth to the narrative's exploration of personal and communal healing. Central conflict and overarching themes. The central conflict revolves around the family's battle against the husband's abuse and the societal disbelief that compounds their trauma. This conflict is underpinned by broader themes of truth versus perception, the complexities of human nature, and the quest for justice and redemption. Emotional resonance is achieved through the characters' internal struggles and the external challenges they face, emphasizing the narrative's coherence through the interplay between scientific rationality and the chaotic unpredictability of human emotions. The narrative journey from chapters 6 through 9 of Shadows on the Foothills further unfurls a complex tapestry of past secrets, personal redemption, and the unwavering quest for truth amidst decay, community grappling with its moral compass. Our protagonists, Ayrika and her daughter Catelynn, continue to navigate through a maelstrom of societal skepticism, legal challenges, and the unveiling of deeply buried secrets that threaten the fragile semblance of normalcy they strive to maintain. These chapters deepen the exploration of key themes established early in the book, notably the interplay between the empirical logic of science and the tumultuous unpredictability of human emotions, and how these realms intersect in the personal battles faced by the characters. Chapters 6 and 7, Uncovering the Past. The revelation of Jules Marrow's unexpected connection to Ayrika's history introduces a seismic shift in the narrative landscape. Once a figure representing hope and guidance for Catelynn, Jules's past involvement with Ayrika adds layers of complexity to his character arc, challenging the foundation of trust and mentorship he had built with Catelynn. The discovery prompts a deep dive into the emotional and thematic currents of forgiveness, the lingering impact of past mistakes, and the potential for personal growth and redemption. This is encapsulated in a pivotal conversation where Jules helps Catelynn reconcile the scientific principles she cherishes with the chaotic entanglement of their current situation, illustrating the book's thematic emphasis on the duality of light and shadow, both in physics and in human nature. Chapter 8, Revelations and Repercussions. As Ayrika enters the fray, bearing news of a significant development in their legal battle, potential evidence that could exonerate their family, the plot takes another dramatic turn. Ayrika's interaction with Jules, laden with unspoken history and shared regrets, highlights the complexities of their shared past. This moment is emblematic of the narrative's continued exploration of how the ghosts of what once was can haunt the quest for justice and solace in the present. The arrival of an investigator promising new insights into the true perpetrator behind the allegations against Ayrika's husband further entangles the past with the present, setting the stage for a profound examination of identity, accountability, and the quest for truth. Chapter 9, Crisis Intersected. The crescendo of revelations is abruptly eclipsed by an explosion within the school, a literal manifestation of the narrative's exploration of chaos theory and unpredictability. This crisis serves not just as a plot device, but as a symbolic eruption of the pent-up tensions, secrets, and fears that have simmered beneath the surface of the characters' lives. The ensuing panic and immediate threat to physical safety thrust the characters into a raw state of survival, momentarily transcending the complex web of personal and legal battles they face. It's a stark reminder of the book's overarching examination of the human capacity to endure, adapt, and evolve in the face of both metaphorical and literal trials. Throughout these chapters, the The journey of Ayrika and Catelynn, alongside Jules, evolves from a struggle for justice against external wrongs to a more introspective battle with their inner demons and regrets. The emotional depth of the narrative is enriched by the exploration of themes such as the tension between past and present, the search for identity and understanding in a world marred by shades of moral ambiguity, and the transformative power of confronting one's truths, no matter how painful. The intertwining of scientific metaphors, particularly the principles of physics, with the character's emotional turbulence, offers a poignant reflection on the unpredictability of life and the inherent human quest for clarity, meaning, and redemption. As Shadows on the Foothills propels Ayrika, Catelynn, and Jules toward an uncertain future, it challenges the reader to contemplate the intricate dance between fate and free will, the complex nature of human relationships, and the enduring light of hope that persists in the shadow of adversity. The narrative's adept weaving of scientific inquiry with deeply human concerns underscores a compelling meditation on the resilience of the human spirit in the quest for truth and justice.